Hello, good evening to all of you out there. Good evening to everybody. This is King Harp. This is Harp. I'm coming back to you to talk. Well, let me explain myself a little bit. I've always been a person of speaking all my life, ever since I was little. I used to read the dictionary when I was a little boy, and sometimes I studied the dictionary, and I would sometimes use words in the dictionary on my mother, and she would say, "You're not going to use those words on me," or she would even ask me, "What does that mean?" Uh, Sometime when I would use words from the dictionary and place them in my sentences. And there were sometimes I would use words and I would be facetious, not knowing I was facetious, because I was very excited and inspired by words. And I begin to know that that's just who I am in the passion of just the inner passion, just inner passion of a natural person. They're just excited about the intellect, excited about the knowledge of speaking. Communications is something that people desire before education. It's something naturally that we do. We communicate. We learn to communicate with our actions when we're born, and we learn to communicate with our words and how to communicate. And we learn that what how much it can be effective and what happens in communication. We learn what it gives and what it won't give, and when to do it and how not to do it and the strategies of it. Even in come down to writing and stuff like that. So I just wanted to place that there a little bit, let you know why I feel impassioned to come here and talk. This is just who I am. But one thing I think is when you find out who you are, you also need to find out how is it going to be beneficial to you and effective to you and that which you're connected to. And that's black lineage is what really connects me, because I experience it. First of all, I'm the slave descendant, and I understand it. The second thing that really inspires me is that it's very interesting that we are in this place today concerning this matter, and that we are have a very uh, sophisticated argument and a very powerful stance in terms of who we are and what's actually there as an invoice, what's actually due to us as a reality, way of constitution. Like this is really something here, and it's a dire state. We have a dire need in terms of what's been denied to us, and that's access to power and access to what we own and who we are and what we are. And we have been living under it and not with it. We've been living under things, and we've been living with the pain that comes with it, or the disappointment, or whatever failure to eat. That's just basically what we've been doing, according to who we are. But I came here to just say something to the Biden supporters. As I go to and fro and talk to our community about our stance, I come to learn in my assessment, a lot of you are embarrassed. I really don't sympathize with you, but now I'm starting to a little bit, because you're so embarrassed and so shamed. A lot of you don't know how to take it, but it's best to admit it. We, see that you made a stance, some kind of fantasy stance for yourself in a selfish way, or you were manipulative. You were manipulated. We understood this, and we kept talking about it. And those who are conscious of among this situation, we kept telling you about this. We did talks, broadcasts. A lot of black people on social media. We came forth and we warned everyone. We got boots on the ground. There was FBA, Black First, ADOS, and we were just telling you guys to pay attention to this, because it's our life at dire state. And we are in dire state, but we're not, because we're so strong. That's the only thing that takes us out of it, because we're so strong and we know how to maneuver this. We've been in worse situations, but this is one of the worst when it comes down to our political stance and our claims. People are walking all over us, and I see it, and we told you this. So now I notice that you guys are embarrassed, some of you, about what you did. And you went out there and you stood tall for this white man who has been in politics all his life, and who has done everything in the world to keep his feet on black people's freedoms and their necks. And you told yourself that he was okay because he made his voice sound a certain way and he said a few things. Even on Charlemagne the God or Charlemagne the Fraud, he said that if you ain't black if you don't vote for me. Black people love that kind of sloganary talk. You know, you love that slogan talk, but Joe Biden know that you love that. You're studied. And it was offensive to us because we know you're studied. Even when Hillary Clinton said that she have hot sauce in her bag. That was a kind of a slogan culture language that black people talk, and they know this. Even when Kamala Harris said she smoked weed in college and she listened to Tupac. Well, I thought she just was a giddy whore. I'm just going to be honest with you because I can see through her. But as she went about her campaign and she was asked would she support black people's reparations and policy, and she deflected the conversation. She took it into another paradigm. She said that, well, we're going to have a lift program and we're going to help everybody with families with $100,000 or less. That is a slap in the face for her to respond directly to you as you ask her, would you support reparations for black people? As she tried to get black people to stand behind her, and she false represented herself as she was Ruby Bridges. That was offensive. And then turn around and say, well, I'm not going to just do anything for black people. And that's what she said. If you don't believe me, you can look it up. And Joe Biden himself never said he was going to do anything for black people. Basically, none of them said they stood for reparation. Now, Marianne Williams did, but I don't know how much power and how much pull she had and how serious she was. And that was a white woman. But I appreciate the dialogue of leaning to that way. Now, I will tell you something that you missed out on and why you're embarrassed. You don't really understand the whole reason why you're embarrassed. You're embarrassed because you're in the wrong energy. You're not on code and you feel it more than you understand it because you not have been paying attention to the dialogue. That's why you don't really understand it totally, is because you have not been actually paying attention to it and being in a way in which you should be. And due diligence among what you are diligent among who you are and what we're doing as your children and your people and your legacy. You haven't been doing that, but you feel this thing. And I can see going back and forth talking to a lot of you feel it and you understand it in your emotions. And you're taking it offensive and you're embarrassed and you're not trying to talk about it. And some of you are not embarrassed. Some of you don't even know that we have an awakening here, a political stance. Some of you just going about thinking nothing ever happened, and I feel very sorry for you because there's a lot going on, and we're paying closely attention to it, and we're talking about it daily and every day, and you don't even know that the person you put in command is being articulated and looked at, and we're following his policies and ideas, and we come to learn that he's doing things to your face, and you haven't paid attention to it because you think you did something great already, and you went on ahead and got your beer and went on ahead and found your boyfriend and went on ahead and went into the night with your strawberries, or went to sleep and ate up your ice cream and got up and hollered at your children and then realized that you had put yourself and your community in dire state, even further dire, because we were already there. And you said that, what was Trump gonna do? Well, we understand that too. When you say, well, Trump is a racist, we understand that too, because our government is racist and our government is bipartisanship. And it's racist. We understand it. We want you to know. See, you feel something, and what you feel is you've upped yourself out of a strategy that you should subscribe to, and that strategy is you're not playing on this chessboard in a way in which you are expected to by us. You're not. We don't expect it now. Some of you will and some of you won't, but we're going to continue on, marching on. You're supposed to be on this chessboard, and that chessboard was, what Donald Trump said that he was going to do something platinum, and we was going to do something, and we was going to, no, we didn't vote for Trump, but we rather had kept him because we could use our strategy better. Even if he did lie about the platinum program, that platinum policy that he said he would do for black people, at least he had the decency as a racist man to stand up and say, I'll do something for you. You did build a country. Well, your President Biden didn't even do that. And if he didn't do it, we would have a better stance and argument against this administration. for standing up publicly announcing it. And that's a strategy for us to play with. You have to understand this chessboard. And we would have been able to do that, and we would have been able to even sloganize. We'd have been able to come into another genre of what we're supposed to have and get the nation ready. And then the next president could come in and say, well, that Trump did not do, I'm going to do more. This is the way you do business in politics. What you didn't do that, yeah, he's a lie. We don't, well, the media told you that, black people, like you were 3-year-old children, because you were their slaves. You were their property. They understand you in terms of what you have done. You are studied. You're only 1% of the country. You understand? Even though that they're dying fast in terms of number and there different things are happening with them. You're still only that percentage. You are studied. Your ancestors was owned by this country, this nation, these states, this government. Sanction to these people. You don't understand that. You think because inside yourself you have so much ideology, you have so much pride that no one else knows who you are. What politically you had been claimed to be something, and you subscribe to it. You actually subscribed to it because you didn't have a choice. When the choices came, you didn't even realize you had a choice, so you stayed there. So we understand that too. And that's why Kanye West said slavery was a choice, which was offensive, and I understand that. But when we got free, and Malcolm X talked about being free, and Dr. Martin Luther King, they was trying to get us to understand that now we're supposed to direct ourselves and point to a certain thing in order to actually go into full liberties. But you, as a slave descendant, were entitled and so wrapped up around the fears of being descendant of slavery and the attitude and the mindset of coming from this institution of prison, that you actually had a dysfunction concerning it. That means you're a special people, you see, and you're not the full population in this country. You're not the majority. You're the minority. So you've been studied. So they understood when they came out and told you that somebody's racist, what was going to happen. I mean, we had black educated people in politics that really subscribed to the narrative that was in the media. But we didn't. We understood that narrative. We're important to this country for the use of us and the harm that we feel. We have to continue to be important in the way in which they want it to be. But this is where it stops. So what you did is you went on ahead and you gave your vote to this system, and you remain the apparatus of its strength, but without receiving any tangibles, any protections. Everyone else did. So that makes you a slave in terms of largely being a people. I mean, personally, you can have some type of freedoms, but as your group and as your legacy and your lineage, according to the country and other groups, you're still servants. Even in government, you voted for someone because they said that this and that to you, and then they gave everything to everybody else because you are people who have not been worthy of anything, is what he's basically saying to you. So you've been embarrassed. So I know some of you are, and I bless your hearts, because some of you are mothers and some of you are such dignity and such classy and elegant people and such benevolent souls, but you gave away your most powerful action during a certain time to a people, and we saw it, and now you're reaping the repercussions of this. And not only you have to understand, we are too. So when you did this, we have to now digest how to feel about you, because now we gotta parent your feelings and emotions when you were with us, and then we have to also digest the fact that we're being harmed and put in dire state by largely our community not paying attention. That's not easy to do. So we're going to go forth with this, and I want you to know that the strategy on the President Trump was not to raise and praise him. It was to raise and praise our idea and to use government as a strategy to make it our floor and not be the floor for government as a slave descendant. Thank you for joining me.